All right. Welcome, everybody, back to the Restoration Success Show. We've been a little MIA, and I apologize, but we're getting back in the saddle. We're going to be consistently putting these out for you guys. And today's guest is Ricelli. She focuses on sales training and revenue generation for restoration companies. And so we're going to talk today just about how we can help restoration companies become more successful on all things sales, marketing mainly, maybe a little ops. But let's start out, Ricelli, just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you ended up in the restoration industry.
What a long story. Well, the first thing that I always say about myself is English is my second language. And when I'm excited, my English is a mess. No, but I'm from Brazil. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, not girl from Ipanema. I'm actually from across the bay from Ipanema. I grew up just outside of Rio. Came here. I'm a law school dropout. So I came here to America as I was trying to rediscover myself and a few things that I wanted to do. And fast forward a couple of years later, because I ended up going to school for fashion and marketing, a restoration content cleaning company brought me to be their biz dev person. And it was interesting because at the time, I was one of the very few people within that region that could tell a real Louis Vuitton from the various levels of counterfeit. So I guess that maybe that's why I landed the job. But I didn't, like many people in our industry, I didn't even know that this industry was a thing because, coming from Brazil, no disrespect to houses built in America, but our houses are not made out of paper over there, people. There's no Tyvek outside of our house.
Yeah.
So things don't happen the same way, right? The restoration industry is not a thing where I come from. So houses don't catch on fire like that. If we see mold, we spray Clorox and we hope for the best. The place is super humid, so there's mold everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting that when I joined the industry, I actually didn't know that me not knowing about the industry was not because I was from Brazil. It was because people only know about this industry when they have a problem. And that is usually once every 10 years. So people don't really, when they hear the word restoration, they think about a cathedral in Europe or a painting. They don't think about bringing properties back to pre-loss condition. So that is my story with the industry. It's been close to 20 years, 2 decades in this industry. And if Dave Osborne is listening to this call, I will say, Dave, you are right. I was never going to leave and I'm still here 2 decades later. So that's the story of my very first meeting on the first day of somebody saying, I hope you like this because you're not likely to leave. So
Yeah. Wait, not to sidetrack this, but Dave Osborne, is he in the real estate industry? I feel like
I believe right now he is Dave Petaluma, California. He was an owner of Paul Davis Restoration for many, many years over there. And
Okay.
great guy. My very first meeting, very first restoration company I've ever met with. We're talking about, oh gosh, if I want to be exact, June 24th, 2006. So that's probably when I met Dave, my very first day in the industry.
Oh, wow. Well, good
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah.
Good memory. So tell us a little bit about what you do now and how you help restoration companies.
Um, so it's like I said, well, first of all, I joined the industry in the business development or lead producing kind of segment, but I've been a salesperson since forever. And one of the things that I've noticed about our industry is that our industry is very ops focused. We have so many ops certifications, but the reason why businesses fail in general, it's because people know what they are doing, but they don't know how to produce clients. And every company should be a sales company first. So when it comes to our industry, I tell my clients, the next time somebody asks you what you do, you say, I have a sales company and my product is bringing properties back to pre-loss condition, right? We should always lead with sales because if we don't make the phone ring, then we have no products or services to deliver on. And I think that is vital and people needed to focus on that as a way to really explain what they do and produce better results. So what do? I turn ops-driven company into sales-driven teams. so that they can increase revenue production through better leads, better conversions, and better collaboration at every level of operation of their team.
Yeah, 'cause we see this a little bit too with our clients. Do you kind of feel like step one with a lot of your clients, a lot of restoration companies, is to kind of make sure that that mindset shift is made to then follow the path, right? Like if you don't believe sales and marketing is important, then it's never going to work. Like if you think online marketing or offline marketing doesn't work, then it's not going to work. That's one thing over the years, I'm like, look, this stuff works, period, online and offline. But you have to believe it's going to work. And you have to shift to that sales and marketing mindset. And then everything else can follow. But if you don't believe it's going to work, it'll never work. I mean, is that kind of how you set the foundation?
I wholeheartedly agree. So let me give you an example. I teach a training called Sales Masters Bootcamp, and that's a 2-month sales training program to turn restoration companies into sales-driven organizations. So what that usually consists of is that somebody will fly me in, I will spend 2 days with the team, and then we have 7 weeks of engagement that is not live over there. But anyhow, when I go in and I ask people, raise your hand if you're part of the sales organization here. Maybe 10% of the people raise their hand. But when I say, okay, raise your hand if you spend at least 25% of your day trying to get somebody to agree with you. Keep your hand standing if it's at least 50% of your time. How about 75% of your time? How about 100% of your time? That is sales. So the first thing is to explain to people what sales is. Sales is every conversation a person A has with a person B where they have a purpose in mind and they want to drive some type of results. That's sales. And that is why, to your point, we need to shift the mindset of what sales is and what sales is not, right? Yeah. And that's why my goal is to turn companies into sales-driven organizations to increase productivity. So once we understand that, we needed to understand that the reason why businesses fail, it's because, little Mary Sue is a great baker. Everybody loves her cupcakes. And one day her family convinces her to open a bakery. She's great at baking cupcakes. She sucks at making the phone ring. Pretty soon, Mary Sue finds out that the cost to bring people through the door is too high. Now she's stressed out. A couple of years later, she bankrupts, and then she has a panic attack every time somebody mentions the word cupcake, right?
Yeah.
What happened to Mary Sue is that she didn't focus on sales and marketing. She didn't have a brand presence like you talked about, and she doesn't know how to bring people through the door to be interested in what she sells. Not different than what we do in restoration.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've read the book, The E-Myth, but he talks about that. People spend too much time being the technician in their business. Like in your example, the baker. Like, okay, if you're going to be the baker, somebody's got to be handling the sales and marketing. It's not like it's either, or if you want to shift to the sales and marketing, you can hire it out or do it yourself, but then somebody's going to have to be the technician. You can't just neglect it altogether, because then that's why people are like, why aren't leads and jobs coming in? You're not, like you said, you're not spending time. You either have to spend time or money into it. You can pick one. When you're smaller, it's probably going to be time because you don't have money. As you grow in scale, you use the money to buy back your time. And that's how the cycle begins, right? And that's how you continue that relationship going. Yeah, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly on that. And this kind of leads into what I want to ask you too, because I saw that you're big into like behavioral science, personality assessments. I'm fascinated by that stuff too, and I don't think it gets as much importance as it should. So, like, what personality assessments are like some of your favorites, and how do you leverage those with restoration clients?
My favorite is mine. I'm a creator. I'm a co-creator of a personality assessment.
Oh, nice. I didn't know.
Yeah, that has been voted by the thousands who have taken as the simplest personality assessment that allows you to identify personalities within 60 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Behavior. Yeah, it's focused. It's super fun. I love it. We should actually do a training for all your clients, do a big summit, and we can do that together. That would be awesome. Yeah. But one of the things that my personality assessment, it's in both of my books. If you go into Amazon and What's Your Fuel, you're going to see that one. It's based off of 4 dog breeds. and we match the energy of the individual with the energy of each one of these dogs. And these dog breeds have such a presence about them that it's impossible to not be able to understand personalities based off of energy. And that's the Doberman, the German Shepherd, the Labrador, and the Saint Bernard. And what I love about my personality assessment and what has set it apart from others is that we don't focus on behavior, because in my humble opinion, people don't have to agree with me, but I think that behavior is our God-given gift of agency. In other words, we can all do something different. If something is not working, do something different, right? So it's not the what you do, it's the why you do it, right? What is the why behind that behavior? So when people go through my sales training and they understand personalities from those 4 dog breeds, they are looking past behavior. They are looking at the substance which is essential to produce an individual's drive, the energy that the person needs to then increase levels of satisfaction and performance. And then we talk about speaking the language of each personality type. And that helps, that is key for communication, that's key for sales, because just like the old saying, barking at the wrong tree, and kind of cliche because mine is 4 dog breeds, but the idea is, how many times do we talk to people, and even though we're both speaking English, the conversation goes nowhere?
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's because I'm not speaking the language of the prospect. In other words, you can only provide solutions once you understand the problem from the perspective of your prospect, right? Which
Yeah.
is what we address. But that is key for sales and marketing.
Do you have a mutt is one of the dog breeds, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that? That little.
Everybody's a mix of two, but easy way to explain is like this. A person cannot be a Doberman and a Saint Bernard at the same time. Why? Because the energy of the Doberman is aggressive. The energy of the Saint Bernard is passive. You can't be passive and aggressive at the same time. You'll be a loony, right? Or
Yeah.
a German Shepherd is more steady energy. A Labrador is all over the place energy, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, people can be a mix of both. Not both, but people can be a mix of 2 dog breeds.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That reminds me, I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. He's got some great training, but and a lot of influence persuasion courses, whatever you want to call it, talk about this, but it's called like matching and mirroring, which mean when you meet somebody, you want to like match their tonality, their cadence, how they are. So like I imagine a more advanced strategy would be if somebody's a Saint Bernard, you can shift into that energy. If you're, and again, this is more advanced
No,
stuff.
no, I love that. But here's one thing: we never change our energy, and if our
Yeah.
behavior doesn't match our energy, we seem like a crazy person, disingenuous. So, for example, if I were to greet you right now, like, hi Jamie, how are you? You'll be like,
Yeah.
is she crack? Like, what did she take
Yeah.
this? Because my energy doesn't match with that smile and that behavior that a Labrador will have,
So your
right?
true self.
So you need to be your true self, but you need to
Yeah.
speak the language of the prospect. I can give you an example of that. I'm a Doberman. My mother-in-law is a Saint Bernard. My 15-year-old son knows my training, teaches my training to his peers, and is capable of understanding personalities within a couple of seconds. The other day, I was talking to my mother-in-law, and we got back in the car, and he said, "Mom, you sounded so fake when you're talking to grandma." And I said, "Lorenzo, I wasn't fake. I was just speaking St. Bernard with a thick accent," right? Because it's the opposite from her energy. Her energy is very calm and very sweet. So if I were to talk to her like that, it would not match my energy, which will get people to distrust me, which is another thing about sales that's very important. Who am I to question some big names? But I think that is a basic level, old style process for sales, this idea of trying to mirror,
Yeah.
because people right now, when they think of sales, they think of somebody who is pushy, somebody that is proposing something that they don't need, and somebody who's phony, which got people to not want to be associated with the word sales. And with
Yeah.
what I teach is, you understand where that person is coming from, their perspective. You speak in a tone and in a language with keywords that they connect with. in a process that they connect with so that you can influence their behavior where you want it to go.
Exactly. And that could be a summary of what I was taught matching and married to be. But at the end of the day, too, you can like I think go too far with stuff. I think like getting people to know, like, and trust you, and just be a good human, have integrity, do what you say you're gonna do. Like that alone took me a lot pretty far back when I used to do sales. It's like, look, just be a good person. Don't be a douche. Like, I mean, to say it bluntly, and just I mean, try to help people. It's like it can kind of, but you can once you start understanding the things you're talking about. Like that's how you can be like from good to great, as they say. Like, you start going down that path. And I think something a lot of restorers could learn from this as well. It was a game changer for us, and I'll never forget it. Is when it comes to hiring your team, understanding them, what seat on the bus they're going to fit in. Like, because some people will be beating their head against the wall forever if they're in a role they're not wired to be in. And I think that's been a game changer. It's like, even when it comes from me, like my ops manager, the complete opposite of me. There's no point in hiring another Jamie to run operations when like I'm the worst at it. Like I never like, hey, it's like she's the yin to my yang. And it's like understanding that whenever you start growing and scaling can be a game changer. And again, it's easier said than done, but I think once you go down that path, it sounds like you kind of become fascinated with it. You're like, wow, this is a whole other world, but it can make the growing and scaling aspect go so much smoother.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'll have to maybe take that one because we use the disc profile, Colby A, and then I don't know if you've heard of principlesu.com. So Ray Dalio is a big mentor of mine. He built one of the biggest hedge funds in the world. Like he wrote I don't know if you're a reader, but Principles, the book, fascinating. It's nonfiction. Wow. But again, if he's built one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, like that's a credible source.
Of course.
His material is next level, but he has a test called Principle U, and then you take it, and then it kind of gives you a little character, like you're most like this, and then you lean. These are your second and third, and then he's like you're least like this role, right? Like in your case, it'd be you're this dog, you're least like this dog.
It is. It is. And here's the thing, and even with my test, I tell everybody, do not take my test. My test is useless. Here's why I say that my test is useless. As well as every personality assessment is useless. Here's why. Because a test's results is impacted by the answers given. And when it comes to personalities, people tend to answer based off of behavior, how they're feeling at that moment, or how they want to be perceived. So there is a big flaw in personality assessments from that perspective. With energy, I know which dog you're not from the moment you got on a call. I knew who you are not immediately. Yeah. Right? You're the opposite from a German Shepherd. Why? Because you're high energy. So when you told me my ops manager is the opposite from me, I'm like, she's the German Shepherd to his Labrador. He's the creative. She's black and white and everything. Right?
And you nailed it, because if I had to pick one, I can almost guarantee I'm a Labrador.
Yeah, and she's the German Shepherd, right?
Yeah.
Which is amazing, because it's like when you understand those principles, when you take my training and we go through all those details, we look past behavior, because behavior can be deceiving. I gave a training to a restoration company in Boston one time that midway through the training, this estimator pulls me aside and he says, okay, so promise me you're not going to tell anybody that I'm a Labrador. And I said, dude, what are you talking about? He was like, I am in a German Shepherd role. If people think I'm a Labrador, they're going to think my estimates are wrong and that I'm not doing things right. And I'm like, this is just mind-boggling to me that now we're trying to pretend to be who we are not because of preconceived notions about results, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, a Labrador will tend to thrive more in a free-spirited environment where it's more creative than a German Shepherd's world, which is black and white, facts and figures. But it doesn't mean that a Labrador cannot learn that as a skill set, right? Yeah. And I think that is very important too, because with my training, I can tell who is more likely to be successful in each position, but that has to do with the willingness of the individual and their coachability. And that transcends personality. So back to that point, there's some amazing personality assessments out there, but what they all have in common is it's a test and people can lie on a test. Not only that, Not only that, we do not have time to put our prospects through a test to get their answers and then know who they are. So we need something simple, efficient, that allows us to look at somebody right away, like me looking at you. I'm like, what is the first dog I don't see in Jamie? He's not a German Shepherd. So he has to be a Labrador because it's the opposite of energy,
Yeah.
right? And then I know that with you, if my hair is a bit out of place, you're not going to mind. But if you are a German Shepherd, I'll have to have glasses, maybe my hair in a ponytail, and be more
Yeah.
serious. That's
Yeah.
how they interact a bit better.
So when these guys are out there walking in insurance company offices, you advise they don't walk in and say, "Hey, I need to know what kind of dog you are before we start this relationship."
Imagine. I
Yeah,
like that. We should try that one. Hey, what dog? If you're a
yeah,
dog, let me give you four. Which one
yeah.
would
I
you?
mean, if they're looking for a pattern interrupt, maybe they'll be like, "Wait, come again?" Like,
And with women, it can turn really bad, right? Because
yeah,
of
yeah. So
right. Do
don't do
not do
that.
that. Do
Yeah, you
not.
got to use your intuition to figure out what kind of dog these people are. So everybody make that note in case you were thinking
Uh,
about.
take the training. Take the training, guys, so you know how to
Yeah,
assess
take the training
with,
for sure.
without calling woman a witch with a B. You do not want to do that.
Yeah,
That does not go
yeah.
well.
All right. Well, that's no, that was a good talk. Let's shift gears a little bit here. So, like, when it
Right.
comes to offline marketing, developing relationships, getting these, partnerships set up with, property managers, adjusters, insurance companies, plumbers. Like, what's some of the biggest mistakes you see that a lot of, like, when your clients come to you, that these restoration companies are making?
Number one, they don't have a type, meaning they do not know who they want to get business from. And I just finished a long project with a client where we spent about 3 months creating their ideal client profile for a marketing vertical, right?
Yeah.
Down to number of units, style of management, the way we needed to dress to approach those people, their social profile, their online profile. People don't know who they want to go after. And that reminds me, it's kind of sad, but like my brother as a teenager, when we would ask him, who's your type for a girl? Every day he had a different type, right? That's not good for business. It's not good for
Right.
business. You need to know who your type is. So that for me is the number one mistake. Number two mistake is not knowing the numbers for conversion. So I'm very blessed by the fact that I have been in the industry for 2 decades and I have trained thousands of people to do this position. And the data that I have been able to collect from Grand Island, Nebraska to Los Angeles, Seattle to South Florida, and Albany, New York, is that in the first year of business, and I hope people are writing this down because I wish I could draw, but this is very important. For every 3 accounts that you move through your sales funnel, and that's a conversation for another time, but 3 accounts that you move through your sales funnel, you're likely to only get 1 lead per year in the first year. So if the goal of a restoration company is to hire a BDM and that person's is to produce 8 to 12 leads per month, that person is going to have to be in and out of their car 15 to 20 times every single day visiting with accounts. That's the second mistake, not knowing the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Which we see a lot in those groups that we are part of. How much can I expect from a BDM? How much should I pay a BDM? And I'm like, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at how many accounts they're going to be visiting. Let's look at your process for asking questions. So that's the second mistake, not knowing the data. And the third mistake is focusing on a sales pitch instead of a sales process. We've talked, and now I don't even know if we talked offline or here today, but the idea is that a lot of times people hate the word sales and being associated with sales because they're thinking about the used car sales guy, right? Somebody who's pushing something that you don't want. We should never sell a product. We need to sell a solution to a problem. But we're only going to find out what the problem is. And one of the things that I always say is never prescribe a solution to a problem you do not understand from the perspective of your prospect. So it's not about a sales pitch, it's about a sales process. The questions that I need to ask to see if somebody qualifies into my ideal client profile, how often they have the situation, what would they need or want in exchange for an opportunity. So those are the 3 biggest mistakes.
Yeah. No, those are really good. And to your point, if somebody didn't write that down, they should pause this, go back. What you said in number 2, if somebody actually did that and consistently did that, that's what we tell our clients all the time. Like, all of this works. But the problem is either they got to do it themselves or their BDM rep will have to do it. But you do that. This is what I did back when I was in it. You do that for a year and you never stop. I managed millions in construction project from 1 year. My boss, he's like, Jamie, this is going to suck and you're not going to like it. I don't care. Do it for a year and you're not going to stop. So I did that. But again, consistently doing that and hitting those numbers over the course of the year, I never had to prospect again. And again, I'm not saying people shouldn't stop prospecting, but in my role, like, you do that consistently for a year. And again, it wasn't fun, but like, again, you have to put food on the table. You got to suck it up sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was gold. So, I mean, that was a huge, yeah. Because again, and what you've done is like, it's just, you've looked at the data, you've reversed engineered it down to what activities have to happen today to drive me to the result I want to get to. And like, it could be that simple. But again, it's easier said than done. And I think that's where, you start with getting their mindset right first, and then let's go down, because I think the persistence and follow through and consistency is where it gets hard, and not everybody can handle it, to be honest. But
So, and there's another thought on that, and we can wrap up the subject. A lot of times it's like somebody says, I want this person to produce 1 million. So then I ask, what is your average job size? 1,000. I'm like, okay, so do you know how many jobs we're going to need for that?
yeah,
Right? And then I do the math and I'm like, this person cannot produce what you want.
yeah,
Right? But if a person's average job size is 10,000, then this BDM is going to have to produce 100 jobs. If their conversions are for every 10, I sign 5, then this person is going to have to produce 200 leads. And if we know that for every 3 accounts, they're going to produce this 1 lead, this person is going to have to do 600 accounts. Now, I hate to be the one to bring in the calculator, but when we get to that point, I say 600 accounts divided by 4 weeks in a month, that person is going to have to visit with 150 accounts per week, divided by 5 days, 30 prospecting accounts per day. It's impossible to do 30.
yeah.
They can do 20, but they can't do 30. So now we're going to have to adjust the metrics because of what a person is capable of doing. On the other hand, I see some people managing 50 accounts. They visit with 50 accounts every other week. And I'm like, overwatering a seed is not a proven tactic for making a seed grow faster. Right. So there's, you know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah.
sorry, I had my lab moment, if you will. My mind went in a different direction. See what I'm talking about? Like, it's not a sales pitch, it's a sales process. What is your process? Do you even have a process? And a lot of people don't. They know how to suck out water, but they do not know how to do the sales, and they don't even understand how the project works.
Or even just pausing from running around from job to job and actually mapping out a 3-4 hour block to go through your numbers and figure out the KPIs for your, like, again, it's easy to say that. The people listening, hopefully somebody will actually do that. But like, go back through your data, your numbers, might be close to what she just said, or maybe a little different. Your business is your business, but knowing those numbers, then you can figure out the activity needed to hit the goals for the rep. I mean, that's gold right there. I agree 10,000% on that. So when it comes to, because a lot of that is the offline stuff. I mean, do you typically see best results when people are matching, online marketing efforts with the offline? I mean, do you kind of see they go really well hand in hand, or not really, or what do you see there?
For me, it's all about that. Here's one question that people have a hard time answering. What do you want your cost of acquiring the customer to be? People don't know, right? And that is where we're going to be able to understand initiatives. I personally believe that in our time and age, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you're the subject matter expert for your segment, but the cost of acquiring customers through digital continues to go up because of how competitive marketplaces are. Now, the reason why I think they have to go hand in hand, it's because I get a job through digital, but now I'm documenting who the agent of that job is. Now I'm telling my BDM, you're going to go visit with that agent. And when that agent answers you, greets you with the can I help you? Voice, you can actually say, oh, I can help you. We are working with the Johnsons. They're indicated that you are their agent. They said great things about you, and I wanted to stop by, introduce myself, make myself available for any questions you might have about the job. Now, if that agent says, I will get penalized by my carrier if I use anybody outside of their list, I can actually say, well, the Johnsons already called us.
Yep. Yep.
So working together, digital with field sales, it's very important because digital will continue to expose us to the customer. We need to understand that digital is B2C. Digital is B2C, and our clients are likely to experience a property damage once every 10 years. Agents, property managers, plumbers, roofers, assisted living facilities, apartment complexes are B2B. We are talking to the people that will talk to the C and connect with us, meaning they're going to have more opportunities to talk to the customer. So it would be unwise not to have both initiatives and not to address the millions of people that will go into Google and say, what do I do if I have a flood in my house?
Yeah.
That's what digital is going to do. And then we are going to be able to expand on that through the B2B initiatives as well.
Yeah, and an ancillary benefit of what we do to help with some of the offline, in my opinion, is because we tell some of our clients this as well, is like, all right, let's say you got that introduction to the insurance agent or whatever. They've never heard of you. They don't know who you are. And maybe they forget your name and your number, but they remember your company name. What's the next thing they're going to do? Go to Google, type in your company name, and when you've got a website, it looks like it was built in 1980, and then you have a Google business profile with 2 reviews and a 3.7 rating. What's the first impression you're making on that agent?
Zero moment of truth. People don't understand that.
Yeah, and that happens. I can promise you, like, that people are doing that, and that's why it can help. They play off of each other, and I think they can be great to help both things head in the direction that people want to go.
For sure.
Yeah, that was a great point. Okay, well, as we wrap up here, I mean, is there any like words of wisdom or takeaways that if you had to? Well, I think your little spiel on the KPIs was gold, so hopefully people wrote that down or go back and listen to it. But is there anything else, like if you had to give any advice to anybody that wanted to start getting their offline sales going and consistent? Is there anything that we can leave them with here today?
I think that the first thing that people need to ask themselves, one of the things that, the father of personal development said that has stuck to me forever, Jim Rohn said, you need to weigh your ego with your results, right? And I have a belief, one of my core beliefs is that you can never say the right thing to the wrong person, but if you're not structured enough, you might end up saying the wrong thing to the right person. What do you want? If your results are so great, the other day I had somebody say, well, Ricelli, nothing that you said is something that I haven't heard before. And I said, okay, so why haven't you produced the results yet?
Yeah. That's an
That's
ego problem for sure.
Exactly. And my husband says that all the time in our business too. He was like, it's not our job to convince people that a rock and a diamond has the same value. If a person honestly believes that a rock from a construction site has the same value of a diamond, the level of stupidity you're dealing with. That's not who you want to talk to. But weighing our ego with our results can empower us to make better decisions of how we're going to go about proposing a message to people. So if your results are not where you want it to be, you need to find somebody who has produced the results you want and consult with them. My tip for people that are part of a franchise system is the following. You need to understand that there are laws that prohibits franchisor representatives from consulting with you because that is shown as interfering in the day-to-day operations of your business. So for people who say, oh, I already am part of a franchise system, we are going to get the same support as hiring you, Jamie, or me. No, you're not, because they cannot do that. Their hands are tied. I know that. I've been there. You can't, right? Find somebody who has the results you want and get their formula, apply their formula. Or you will, and also the other thing that I think it's very important is that people understand that businesses are like plants at the house. You can't look at your plant and say, okay, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. You don't need to grow, just don't die on me, right? You're either on a growth plan or you are in a dying plan. That's how it is with business, with life, with plants and all of the above. And the last thing that I would say that I live by is we don't manage people. We create manageable systems and we coach willing individuals to manage themselves and produce those results.
Yeah.
I have put these things together. I have been able to help people get the results they want
Yeah.
and move forward with the strategies and the things that they want for their business.
That's awesome. So if anybody wanted to reach out to you or learn more about what you do, where should they go?
Well, you can go to my LinkedIn, Ricelli Mordecai, and over there you're gonna see all the fancy recommendations. But here's what I've learned about our industry. Most people have a LinkedIn account, but they actually interact on Facebook because of the groups. So I'm no stranger to friend requests from strangers. So you can connect with me on Facebook and we can have a discussion. I highly suggest for people, and we can even put a promotion together here, but that people will take my intro to restoration sales and marketing training. That is an 8-hour self-paced training that also comes with a consultation with me to get you to press the reset button with your results and produce the results that you want to produce moving forward.
Awesome. And everybody listening, you can just Google her name, Ricelli Mordecai, and you can Facebook, LinkedIn, her website. That way you can reach out to her in whatever mode you like to use. But so that's it for today, guys. Hopefully, I know you got some value out of this today's show, and we will see you guys on the next one.